Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast, presented to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. We are live here at Four Peaks in downtown Tempe. I'm Johnny Venerable, Bo Brock, Damian Anderson. Fellas, robust practice report today, but first of all, loving the vibes here at Four Peaks.
They're immaculate. I mean, it's tough to beat what's going on here. You got TVs with sports all over the place. You've got delicious food. You've got incredible beers. DA's got one. I've got one. Johnny, for some reason, I don't know why he's not enjoying and imbibing, but we are.
Wow, can't even get through one segment and being thrown under the bus. But DA, it's great to have you back, my man.
It feels good to be here. This vibe here at Four Peaks. I mean, it's a great broship.
Yeah.
I mean, we're celebrating this broship. Got some good beer. And where else would you want to be?
Well, I'd also want to be at Cards practice today, but thankfully Bo Brock was there, and a little bit of a breaking news story as it revolves this Cardinal receiving core that has otherwise been depleted.
Yeah, 5'7", Rondale Moore. He looked like he was 10'8". Just kind of that number 4 was a beacon in the desert here. It was beautiful to see. You know, say what you want about A.J. Green. He was a guy that was making plays. He made a big play for this offense to send the game to overtime against the Raiders. It was imperative that he came down with that, but he's out. He's got that bone bruise, and the Arizona Cardinals are down another wide receiver along with DeAndre Hopkins. No A.J. Green, so the return potentially of Rondale Moore is a welcome sight for Arizona Cardinals fans who, I'm going to say it right now, I mean, after a country club-esque preseason,
yes,
and then a pretty brutal start, 11 quarters of 12 potential quarters that have been horrid as far as the Arizona Cardinals go. They've got to buck these trends. They have to buck these trends. The trend against Carolina, 6 straight losses. You know, dropping 7 of 8 or 7 of 9 games potentially dating back to last season. They've got to stop the bleeding, and it starts this week. And Rondale Moore can be a big part of that potentially.
Bo, I like Rondale Moore coming back for this team. Johnny, I got a bone to pick with you about A.J. Green.
Let's do it.
Up to this point, A.J. Green has been available. Rondale Moore has not. And if you look at the duration of his career and his productivity for the Cardinals, A.J. Green has been more available and outproduced.
Well, you're comparing. That is factual. I will agree with that. I will also say it's like comparing, I don't know, a couple pairs of New Balance shoes, right? They're not Air Jordans, right? I need something more.
Fair enough. No pun intended.
And if A.J. Green, absolutely, if A.J. Green was performing like he did at the start of last year, I'd be the first to eat all the crow. I wanted to be wrong, but he is not available anymore. He is essentially going to go, we think, on injured reserve. He's definitely not going to play this weekend, Bo Brock, against the Carolina Panthers. And Rondale Moore, listen, I'm going to start calling him the paper mache man unless we get some production here, because I know the ability's there. The difference with that, with A.J. Green is, brother, he is toast. His best football is behind him. He was a great player once upon a time, but he has proven a hell of a lot more in his career than Rondale Moore. Now it's about number 4. It's about number 4 producing for this team. You are a premium pick, Rondale Moore, a top 60 draft pick that they thought you were going to duplicate or then some Christian Kirk's numbers from last year. That was the item that Kliff Kingsbury was preaching in the preseason. Those targets, those Christian Kirk targets, those are going to number 4, and we think he can be an explosive playmaker. And yet we have not seen that because he hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been healthy since 2018 at Purdue. So I am cautiously optimistic, gentlemen, but also very concerned as it relates to what this means for Greg Dortch, because that is somebody, number 83, that does not deserve to leave the field at all.
And guys, I think that, to your point, Johnny, I feel as though that we need to temper our expectations with more, because with the productivity we've seen last year, although that he was hurt, Bo, as you know as well, Greg Dortch has cut that in half already in 3 games in terms of productivity. I think that Greg Dortch doesn't come off the football field, and maybe it's some reverse, maybe stretching the football field type of opportunities with more when he becomes available, if he becomes available, Bo. But I like what they have. I mean, I think it's going to be an issue not having A.J. Green there, because who steps in? Do you run Kyler Moore, try to establish the running game, or because Bo? I mean, just thinking about the options that they have available. Obviously, he's not been on the same page with guys other than Hollywood Brown and Greg Dortch, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and the way I phrased my question to Kliff today was, is Greg Dortch playing the role that you envision Rondale Moore playing?
I appreciate you asking that.
And he said, you know, basically he's not going to take any snaps away from Greg Dortch. And it sounds like the guy that's going to have to make adjustments is Rondale Moore.
Yes,
and they like his versatility. And we saw that these wide receivers were playing different roles in training camp, and they learned the offense in different route trees. So that's encouraging. But, is Rondale Moore coming off the hamstring injury, like, what is the role that he can play that he can make an impact with? Because we know what Hollywood does so well. We know what Greg Dortch does so well. Can Rondale Moore play? Is he going to play Z? Is he going to play outside? Is he? I mean, I got to imagine he's going to be able to get some better separation than A.J. Green was getting out there. But, what does that look like? How can they utilize him? How can they get more big plays from this offense with Rondale Moore when they're running like a 4-guard set in the NBA?
Right.
You have to be absolutely convinced he can turn it loose. If you're going to put him on the outside and ask him to stretch the field vertically, that hamstring, we remember what happened with DeAndre Hopkins last year. That hamstring was not ready to go against the LA Rams. He tried to stretch the field vertically, and he re-aggravated it. Like, you can't do that with Rondale. You have to be 100% convinced, your training staff, that he can come out and produce for you. I'm a little bit concerned it's going to be back to the gimmicky bullshit that we saw last year, because Greg Dortch is a prototypical slot receiver. He operates underneath. He's got wiggle to his game. He can break tackles. And so, yes, you leave him there. So then, Bo Brock, we lean on your acumen, your experience in practice. Like, how often did you see Rondale Moore play outside during training camp before his injury?
Yeah, I mean, you saw it a little bit. I mean, it was you saw it enough to be like, oh my God, Rondale Moore is finally running real routes down the field. Yeah, he's not just running horizontal routes. He's not just going east and west. He's going north or south, which is encouraging. But there are a couple different variables, and DA, you could speak more on this than us because you've actually got a background playing legitimate football. Nothing against Johnny.
You and I didn't play in the NFL. Why is that directed at me? Bo didn't play in the fucking NFL either. All right.
Okay. But, it doesn't look great as far as what the weather forecast is on Sunday. And coming off a hamstring injury, that makes things even more – would they be more cautious with that?
Well, I don't know if he even plays, Bo. I mean, I think that it's great.
I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think there's any assurance
I don't know. Just hearing the quotes from the presser – it seemed like it was 60-40, 60% he may not play. 40% we're going to see how it goes. And I think it's going to be contingent upon Kliff Kingsbury. I think this is a Kliff Kingsbury moment where he has his quarterback, whether it's designing plays to get these guys open, whether it be Greg Dortch or Hollywood. We saw Hollywood coming into his groove. But to me, the answer lies to, what about them tight ends? Where are we at with them tight ends? Where are we at with Ertz? Where are they at with Trey McBride? Where are we at with these tight ends and finding opportunities to get these guys the football and or running the ball with Kyler, Bo? Because that seems to be a huge indicator of their success, and that could take some pressure off. And I know it's a double-edged sword due to the fact that if you do put Kyler out there and you do run the ball with him, Johnny Bo, there's a probability that he may get hurt. And not being the biggest guy, you got to go with what you got here, Johnny.
I know. We're going to talk about later in the show if this is a must-win, but Brian in the chat puts it perfectly. If the weather's bad, Rondale Moore's not playing. Like, they will reserve him and hold him out until against Philadelphia. Like, we may feel like it's a must-win, like Kliff Kingsbury can't go 0-3 barf against Matt Rule, but it's a long season. We preached that, 17 games. A.J. Green, healthy this week. I don't even think it's a question that they hold him out. The only temptation is, how do you fill out this receiving core this week?
I feel like they've been cautious. I don't know if the health of the hamstring is a big issue right now. If he's going to play, he's going to play. He's going to play. I don't care about the weather. I don't think it's going to play a role.
Trayvon Mullen didn't play after he came back from injury, and
it's a whole new system.
That's toe surgery too. Yeah, and it's a brand new system. I don't know. I think if he's ready to go, he was limited today in practice.
How'd he look, Bo?
I mean, you with the open portion, you don't get to see obviously position drills out there, but he looked fine. He looked spry. I mean, according to his quarterback, this is the most it's going to be secondhand information from me from Kyler Murray was he looked fresh and rejuvenated, and that's encouraging. That has to be encouraging. I just don't think that they're going to put him out there even to practice and run routes with the ones if he's not fully healthy. I could be wrong, DA. I don't know if they would. If they're going to risk it now in practice, are they going to why not risk it in game day?
I think jet sweeps are coming his way if he plays. I think screen passes are coming his way if he plays. They really haven't utilized that in the offense yet this year, and I don't think that's a change in philosophy for Kliff Kingsbury. I think that just the personnel hasn't been available, and I'm not almost better with that for Rondale Moore, but Greg Dortch, gentlemen, I know it's early. He's on pace for over 1,000 yards receiving this year. Now that's going to get diluted when Hopkins comes back and you start to get a little bit more refined offensively, the running game hasn't taken off. But like Greg Dortch, if he's healthy, like he's not going anywhere in this lineup. He's gonna produce. He's gonna give you 700-800 yards. And if you're Rondale Moore, it's like take what you can get. Damien, how important was it for you maximizing the reps that you did get? Because again, if you're Rondale Moore, it's like you're at the bottom of the totem pole now.
Johnny, that's life. Taking advantage of opportunities.
Yeah.
Being on a radio show with your bros and talking some dope shit about football.
That's right.
Like that,
we do it every day.
Like that's really what it is. It's about making the most of your opportunities. Preparation meets opportunity. You know, Oprah calls that. I'm going to throw out Oprah. Oprah calls that good luck.
Wow, an Oprah drop on the show.
It is. I'm 43, guys. It is what it is. Deal with it. But being that, guys, Greg Dortch has been the most consistent player on the for the Arizona Cardinals.
Correct.
And Kyler Murray, a close second. But I really believe that not having DeAndre Hopkins out there is the key to this team. I think that he's the missing leader, whether it be offense, defensively. Just watch, and I know that you guys have talked about it at length. Just watching the game this past Sunday, you saw some veteran savvy that the Cardinals don't that they don't have.
Right.
And that's going to take time, and it's going to take players continually being consistent. I like what I saw from Hollywood. I don't know what that answer is, guys. I don't know if it's being more consistent, being harder on them, because I just think it's time.
It's personnel.
I think it's a combination of the two, Johnny. I think it's time. I think it's personnel, and there's some good football out there being played by your opponents and in your division.
Let me ask you bros this. Marcus in the chat, bros, whatever. Also, Bo Brock. Is this team missing Christian Kirk at all? In the red zone, he had up a lot of touchdowns early last year. Would you say you'd rather have him now? Well, of course, but for $20 million, Bo Brock, I'll start with you.
I mean, Christian Kirk has been known to get off to a hot start.
Correct.
We've seen it. He even did it with the Arizona Cardinals. You can't knock him for that, but it's how you finish and how we talk about opportunity. At the end of last year, in the previous season, he had a big opportunity to show that he could be a legit 2 and a fringe 1, and he didn't step up. So at that price tag, it's a little tough. And where the Cards were cap-wise, I mean, we talked about this on our audio-only podcast about how the Cardinals and where they fall short as far as developing these players and knowing where they are and if they can move forward and extend these guys to maybe more reasonable team-friendly contracts before they hit the open market, and then you price yourself out of it. Yeah. So, Christian Kirk, could he help this team? Absolutely. I think that they need all the help they can get. It's interesting. I've been doing the Carolina Panthers podcast circuit the last couple of days, and it's interesting the perception in this team. And, somebody asked me, he's like, are you guys really, do the Cardinals really have Greg Dortch as their number 2 wide receiver? And then, like, they boost what their score prediction is going to be. Like, that's an indictment on the Arizona Cardinals. I'm like, look, you can say what you want about Greg Dortch and who he was, where he was drafted. He wasn't drafted.
They're going to find out.
Yeah, they're going to find out that this guy is legit. It's not just, like, cosmetic stats. I mean, these are legit, like, as far as, where he is, his yak production, how he gets open, the next level analytics that show he's got 4 yards between him and any defender. I mean, the guy goes out there, and he's a beast out there every Sunday. And Carolina's going to find out. But it helps if you can get another guy in Rondale Moore to help carry the load along with him in Hollywood.
It's concerning. What's not concerning, listen, my favorite app right now to use as it relates to fantasy is Underdog Fantasy. I don't know if you guys know this or not. Promo code PHNX, it's going to get you into the action today. We've been playing every single Sunday. You can bet on your favorite players to hit over or under their stat sheet. So if Rondale Moore is available and you want to dabble and you think maybe 4, 5, 6 receptions, you can bet on that on Underdog Fantasy. And get this, if you search in the App Store, click on the link in the show notes, use that promo code PHNX. Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $100. I deposited $100, got $200 in my account to dabble, to sprinkle. I may not use it on the Cardinals this weekend because, yes, not a lot of confidence lately in the skill players for AZ, not named Hollywood and Greg Dortch. But if you like some action this weekend, why not utilize Underdog Fantasy, gentlemen?
Let's talk about a different type of app. And my favorite app here at Four Peaks is the chicken rolls. They're unbelievable. They're electric. You like the green chili poutine? I mean, it's just producer Emma, what's going on here?
What'd you say?
Green chili poutine.
Yeah.
All right.
She got a prop with that?
I was going to say something had she not, but you know what?
I'm just gonna throw a bone to Johnny. Like, Johnny's probably good that you don't say on air that you won $100. His wife is gonna be waiting for that.
I didn't win 100. I deposited 100.
No, but you said
the underdog gave me free money, which I appreciate.
Okay, fair enough.
What I did after the fact was not a good thing.
Can we talk about how I was rudely interrupted talking about these delicious apps here as we're hanging out at Four Peaks? You can get the Brick House wings, so many different flavors. Frank Sanders was blown away by the wings that we had our last watch party, and he knows his wings. And Four Peaks knows their wings as well. Check out their quesadilla, their spinach dip, their entrees are all on point. I was glad to see that the PHNX crew, they expanded their palate a little bit today. They went away from the chicken tendies.
Did they really?
Which are unbelievable. But they actually had some grown-up palates, and they enjoyed some great, delicious food. They're
like babies. They're like 20.
We got some lovebirds over there.
Macaroni and cheese. Macaroni and cheese.
If Four Peaks had a juice box, they would be like, "Yeah, can I have the tendies in a juice box?" And they'd be set for the rest of the night.
Where's my Capri Sun?
But here's the good news: is they don't have juice boxes. They have beer right in front of us. Kilt Lifter, 8th Street Ale, Hop Knot. You've got the Wow Wheat, which I'm enjoying. What are you drinking, Damien?
Hazy.
It's a hazy. It's delicious.
I bought, with my hard-earned money, the pumpkin beer, and I have it at my house.
Pumpkin porter,
Tis
the season.
I drink it every day. It's the best, and there's a lot of pumpkin beer.
Now.
There's a lot of imitations out there. That is not one of them. It literally feels like a pumpkin maybe mated with some beer, and then that's what I get to enjoy. It's fantastic.
Yeah, they got weird at one night, and then that's their offspring, right?
So it's like your rendition of like manned. Yeah. Like being a man, like not going to like Starbucks and getting there like pumpkin spice.
I like supporting locally anyway, but this is just it's great when it's also great, and that's what Four Peaks is.
For sure.
Look, I mean, pumpkin spice lattes are trash water compared to the pumpkin porter.
Correct.
It's not even close. That's the true pumpkin. It's the reason for the season. Four Peaks, we're here, we're hanging out. If you still have time to come down here, if you say you're hanging out with the PHNX crew, you can get $3 Kilt Lifter, $3 Wow Pints. Hang out. You got to be 21 years or older. Enjoy responsibly.
So practice continued for the Arizona Cardinals today, and there was news just outside of Rondale Moore as well. So we've got Zaven Collins, you spoke to him. Bo Brock looks like he's going to play.
Yeah.
And he is improving. So for the people who think he's not, I very much am here to say, watch the tape with your eyes. He missed a critical sack, but he is getting better, and it's a foundation of layering with Zaven. He needs starts. He needs snaps. He didn't play at all last year. So Zaven looks like he's going to play, gentlemen. Let's talk about somebody else right now. Antonio Hamilton looks like he may be on track to return not this week, but next week, Bo.
Yeah, it was Kliff Kingsbury saying that he's optimistic that Hamilton can get out there. He came off the freak accident in his kitchen where he suffered some burns, and he's been ahead of schedule, I think, with this team.
Yeah.
After coming off an incredible training camp where he had won that cornerback 2 spot, and that's not an indictment anymore on Marco Wilson, who Kliff Kingsbury also said today had his best week last week against the Rams as a professional player.
I thought he was very good.
Yeah, he's been solid through the first 3 weeks, maybe one of the few bright spots of this Cardinals team through 3 weeks. But Antonio Hamilton is progressing, and they think, once he's eligible to come off of the NFI list, he'll be ready to go. Like, just hit the ground running. And that's what they want with these guys who have been out for so long, whether it's Hamilton or Antonio Wesley. We'll see where he's at. And then also, of course, DeAndre Hopkins, the biggest one after week 6. They want him to be ready. We saw on D-Hop's Instagram, he's in the lab. He's putting in the work. There was no doubt about that.
So I'm a little bit concerned, gentlemen. Rashard Lawrence had surgery, on his hand. He's not going to play this week, we don't think. Didn't practice. Now, eventually, maybe they avoid IR with the big man out of LSU. He's got a cast on his hand, and he can move around a little bit. But in the meantime, guys, that defensive line group that I already thought was thin coming into this season right now looks like the weakest point of the team, in my opinion.
I don't know. I've liked the defensive line
they
so
get
far.
Blown off the ball, though.
Is it the second half defensive line or is it the first half defensive line?
That's a good point.
I mean, this is a group that you include Wadden and Zach Allen, who have been really solid.
Johnny's a statistics guy now.
Yeah, he is.
So he wants productivity, he wants sacks, and he wants interceptions.
Blowing up the offensive line from the interior.
I'm with you, Johnny. I'm with you. Like, this team has to play better in order to be what we want them to be.
I told Bo yesterday on the audio-only show, which you should definitely check out, by the way, when the Rams wanted to run the ball and put that game away, they could. They ran the ball with Cam Akers. He scored a touchdown. Outside of the Buda Baker, great play by a defensive back, not a front seven player. Like, the Rams were controlling the line of scrimmage, and that was with J.J. Watt and Zach Allen. So I'm sorry, I'm not convinced that this group is going to be able to get it done. I think they need to bring in exterior players. Nobody wants to hear about Ndamukong Suh. He only wants to go to a championship caliber team. That's fine. But I think they did a disservice to their defense by not adding some additional depth. Lecky Fotu, to me, looks slow. Looks like he is not
well,
an
you
NFL
put him on the edge. I mean, you put him on the edge, and he has to stop Cooper Kupp on a reverse. Anybody's going to look slow. That was embarrassing.
Where are the penetrating plays on first and second down? When teams want to run the
I
ball,
think you saw
they
them
can.
against the Raiders all second half.
Raiders don't count. They're
0-3.
Okay, sorry.
What are the
Raiders don't
Panthers
count.
going to
They're
try to
0-3.
do this
Did you
weekend?
see
if
this
McCaffrey's
stat?
They're going to run the ball. Or if the weather's inclement weather, they're going to try and run
pound
the
it
ball.
right at J.J. Watt and Zach Allen. And
Pound it where?
right at them. I'm not going to say where it's going to be. But, hey, 8 yards per carry right now.
Did you hear the stat about the Raiders? So the Raiders are 0-3.
Correct.
And the 3 losses that the Raiders have suffered, the Cardinals, the Titans, and then week 1 of the Chargers.
All those teams only have 1 win, right?
Against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Isn't that unreal? But,
Wow.
okay, back to the defensive line.
So is it parody?
It tells me
or
not to
their
bet on
ass?
Josh McDaniels anymore. I'm not going to do that.
You guys are asking me to think. Is that parody or their ass?
People in the chat saying Manny Jones and Bo Brock, we were talking off air. That seems like the likely addition.
Jonathan Ledbetter, Manny Jones, internal options, and then
Do they make a trade, Johnny?
They should, and we talked about it. Like, this should be the position group that they target on top of outside linebacker. I still trust Marcus Golden to get it together, and I took 2 rookies. They're in witness protection right now, but they do exist. Cam Thomas and Myjai Sanders. That defensive line group, like, it is what it is.
And they elevated Jesse Licata, too, another pass rusher who's just going to be...
He's going to replace our guy, Deontay Thompson. We'll pour one out from. He got cut from the team for missing that. He personal protector, my man, didn't get that done, and the old punt got blocked, so maybe that he's going to slide over and play personal protector on punt team. But I just, Manny, Ledbetter, Bedwetter. I'm sorry. Like, I think Greg Dortch is the outlier from the preseason.
Yeah.
My man Victor Dumakaji. Like, where's that explosiveness off the edge?
You definitely miss it.
Yeah, I missed it. I missed the preseason.
Yeah, you missed that.
I mean, he's not getting playing time.
I saw him out there a couple times.
I think he got 4 snaps against the Rams.
So who's eating up those snaps, Gardeck?
Your boy that
Kennard?
you said it was trending up.
So which one is it, guys? Is it the coach or coaches or is it players?
As far as the lack of pressure up front?
Both. Like in lack of pressure, lack of production. I mean, I know that
I'll stand by this. I think it's a cover issue. I think that they can't cover.
I think you are just married to your defensive back play.
But they run the ball. What is it, Johnny?
8 yards per carry
8 yards
for a win.
for the year.
Forever.
For the year. 3 games. Cardinals are getting 8 yards per pop against them for the year.
You mean opponents?
Yeah. And by the way, opposing quarterbacks have the best passer rating against Cardinals, 118. Like, there are enough bad defensive stats for me to say, hey, Vance, not great. And this is what I will say. The difference between the defense and the offense is, I'm not making excuses, but they're missing a ton of wideouts. This is what the defense they envisioned to start the year. This is it. Here it is.
And then my argument as John Q fan that reads a little bit would be, hey, defense, you shut out the Raiders in the second half. Of course, you know, we made the play and won the game.
Yeah.
Right? We made the play and won the game. And then in this game against the Super Bowl champions, we only allowed 20 points.
And I think
we expect our offense to produce.
And I agree with that. I just want to emphasize, I do not want the shortcomings of this offense to cover up how poorly the defense has played at times. And I think that that's what's happening this week. And I can't stress it enough. The defense is so bad early in games. It puts extra pressure on this offense. And I know the offense is awful right now. I get that. I watched the consistent 3-and-outs. It is disheartening to go on the field when you're already down 10-0 in the blink of an eye.
I think you got it backwards. I really do. I think that this, the Kansas City, that was just a dismantling on all 3 levels, right? But
game 1, they know that the defense is their Achilles heel, and they kick the ball off.
Right. Yeah. They defer, which is head scratching in itself. But the defense has played well enough the last 2 weeks to win football games.
I agree.
Even with scoring down across the league. You give up 20, 23 points, you should be able to win that football game with what you've invested in each side of the football, especially on the offensive side of the football. I mean, the money is not even close.
Well, you got a $30 million player not playing. You've got a draft pick, top 2 draft pick not playing. You got another top 2 draft pick in Trey McBride not playing for different reasons. But the offensive line needs to be better. I'm not making excuses for the offense. The defense, to me, though, there's something about the Simmons-David Collins situation. It just makes me physically ill.
How big? To me, it goes back because before, when people ask me about the Arizona Cardinals, know that I played, and they would say, like, Damien, what my thoughts would always be, this team is dictated by Kyler Murray and J.J. Watt. I thought it was. Mm-hmm. Then D-Hop went down, and I saw just the missing of explosive plays.
Yeah.
I saw just that dog leadership that DeAndre brings, and I really feel that it's going to be a complete 180 or 160 when he returns, because I think that he adds an element of just, it doesn't matter where the ball is. I'm the better player. I'm going to go get it. And then we've seen through social media how hard he's been working, and just to insert him back in the offense, I think, and I hate to talk about it because I know that he's not playing right now, right? And this is what this team, I think it's just, they're missing the identity right now.
Yeah.
Like you can't put your finger on, like, what is it? Why aren't they doing this? Why isn't the defense, getting off the football field? But, Bo, to your point, the defense has played well 2 out of 3 games. The offense has been struggling, Johnny. Is it because it doesn't have Moore or Hopkins? Are those the big answers? And I think a high likelihood that it is D-Hop. But, that doesn't make fans feel better about why they're not winning games.
Well, the run game is unacceptable, too. And the fact that Kyler Murray is not being given an option to run the football, you guys have seen all this.
But you think that's by design, though, for preservation? They just paid this guy X amount of dollars. We want to see him on the football field.
You've been chasing leads. You've given up 31 points to scoring 0 in the first quarter. You've been chasing every single game, so it's tough to set a run game at that point. And, the Rams can do a completely different game plan in taking away and keeping everything right in front of them, including Kyler Murray's legs, when they have a lead like they did, and like the Raiders had, and like the Kansas City Chiefs had. I want to get DA's thoughts on this because we haven't talked to him for a little bit as far as when we talk about the defense, and you mentioned Isaiah Simmons. Have you heard the quote from Steve Keim on their flagship radio
station? It was in our Howard Balzer article today. You can check out gophnx.com, which, by the way, Howard's doing great work for us for PHNX Cardinals. And, he outlined it perfectly.
Yeah, it's going to make you take your tablet, your laptop, whatever you might be reading this on, and go Ken Dorsey on it like he did when the Bills didn't get it done on Sunday. But this was what Steve Keim told Arizona Sports 98.7 on his weekly appearance as far as how Isaiah Simmons goes. He says, I just know this. The more and more you watch Isaiah play, he gets better. The more comfortable he gets, there's so many types of players out there. Guys that are just productive players. And the one thing you can say about Isaiah is every time he's on the field, he has opportunities to make plays. He makes big plays. And to me, this is Steve Keim saying, that's because his physicality, his body type, his speed, big-time players make big-time plays in games, and he's a big-time player.
He plays 16 snaps per game, Steve. Maybe come down from your ivory tower and knock on Vance Joseph's door and demand him. You have the ability to do this. You make premium money. You're second to only Michael Bidwell. Demand that he plays number 9? I don't even remember what number he is because he's never on the field. He's 48 as a rookie. Steve, you can do that. I appreciate him empowering Vance Joseph and playing who he wants. Cut the shit. It's over. Play Isaiah Simmons.
Marcus is in the chat here. Cool. So he's on the field all the time, right? Am I taking crazy pills here?
No.
Why isn't he on the field more? If he's a big-time player who makes big-time plays and he gets more and more comfortable by the more time he gets, then why is he not playing?
Are we talking about Zaman or are we talking about Isaiah?
Isaiah.
Because he's a liability right now. That's why.
Nick Vigil.
Because he's a liability. I think because his skill set, guys, and how he's designed to play within this defense, it's isolation plays. It's one-on-one. And the opponents have had the advantage. We saw it against Kelsey. We saw it in opportune times against the Raiders, and that was enough for the coaches. It's like, okay, you haven't. And to me, the words that Kliff said, talking about like, hey, you have to be in it all the time. Mm-hmm. To me, that's throwing a shot. Mm-hmm. Like you have to do more work to be ready to be on this football field for this team, whether it's studying or we all see that he's a freak. And he tests well, can run, jump high. But as we talk about that paralysis by analysis, being able to identify what that offense is going to do, pre-snap reads, maybe that's what the coaches are talking about.
Maybe they're not good teachers. And we talked about,
I
don't know if Vance Joseph, again, at the end of the day, can take a young player who maybe needs additional help and say, I can put you in the best position to succeed. Because I watched him very first series of his professional career go against Kyle Shanahan, and he got burnt on a slant pass from a running back and that was it. Vance Joseph didn't put his arm around him and say, young man, we're going to learn from this. We're going to get better. Get back out there. You know what he did? He yanked his ass, and that tells me Vance Joseph, for all the praise that he gets, and I do think he's good at his job to some extent, if I'm a young player defensively, I don't know if I trust my career in his hands, because right now he would rather play journeyman, borderline, vet minimum, 30-plus-year-old guys at linebacker over the 8th pick in the draft that's a freak. And if I'm Steve Keim, enough is enough, man. I'm trying to win games. Winning ball players on this defense do not currently exist outside of maybe 5 guys.
Real quick, Johnny, the difference why Vance is making that decision, because the difference between a guy identifying a play and making a tackle downfield for a 4-yard gain or a 5-yard gain, the veteran, versus being exploited and scoring a touchdown, that's why he's making that decision. As we talk about that margin for error,
100% agree.
That's why we're talking about. I mean, granted, it's a first down and you're still pissed off as a fan watching the game. Like, well, shit, get Isaiah Simmons out there. Well, if Isaiah Simmons allows it to be a touchdown, then you're more pissed off about the situation. I think and that's how Vance is looking at it. And as a former player and as a coach, you're like, shit, you know what they're about to do. You run a 4-3.
Yeah.
Catch up.
Well, yeah, and you run a 4-3. It doesn't matter if you're half a second behind. Then it becomes
Correct.
a 5. Then it comes to a 5 flat. You're not making the sack. You're not getting that tackle. You're not knocking the guy out of bounds. Hearing some of the quotes from the coaching staff, from their general manager, as we heard on the flagship, via our guy Howard Balzer over at GoPHNX.com, it'll make you feel like you just popped an OG's and you're off on a different planet. But also, OG's is hooking you up and doing something completely different than making you think twice about what you heard on the Cardinals flagship radio show, or what you heard here on PHNX Cardinals about Isaiah Simmons and what the GM's saying, the coaches are saying. They're getting you to sleep. They launched their Sleep Edition gummy.
Tie boys.
That's right. They're getting you ready for a good solid 8 hours or whatever you need, 12 hours. Well, how many hours of sleep do you guys get a night?
Well, my kids get me up at 6:15. I typically, I'm working until I go to bed, just for, the fine folks of PHNX Cardinals. So I would say anywhere between 7 and 8 hours, maybe.
What a humble brag. What about you, DA?
About 5 to 6.
5 to 6.
He's got to get a pump in. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, that's right.
5 to 6. I know I need to sleep more, but it's early bird gets the worm, man.
That's right.
I guess they do. But they launched this Sleep Edition gummy. If you guys are having trouble getting to sleep, which I don't think you are, since you guys have worked so hard, but look, they've got the flavoring dreams, not just flavoring life any longer. They got the 2-to-1 THC to CBN ratio gummy, which is the aquaberry flavor, and it helps specifically with falling and staying asleep. That's their Sleep Edition gummy. If you got trouble with it, check it out. Or if you just want to check out the products that OG's has to offer, check them out, ogsbrands.com. That's ogsbrands.com. They're on Instagram as well. You can find their products in your local dispensary. Got to be 21 years or older to purchase.
I love this app. It's called DraftKings. Not sure if you've heard of it. Right now, you can bet on the Arizona Cardinals to beat the Carolina Panthers. They're actually an underdog to Matt Rule, which makes me physically ill. You can get the Cardinals at plus 1.5, or you can get their money line right now at plus 100. And listen, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but if you want to invest wisely, head on over to the DraftKings Sportsbook app. New customers can bet just $5 on any team to win. Get $200 back in free bets if they do. If that's not enough, folks, everyone can boost their winnings. Get this, with DraftKings step-up same-game parlays. Right now, every leg you add can boost your winnings up to 100% with payouts bigger than ever. Why would you bet on football anywhere else than DraftKings? To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on step-up same-game parlays once every game day, all season long. This does not cut off. Keep it flowing weeks 4 through 17. It's simple. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code PHNX. That's promo code PHNX at DraftKings. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See those show notes for details. DraftKings player of the game, king of the game, I should say, from last week, Greg Dortch. Gentlemen, if you had to predict a DraftKings king of the game.
It was Hollywood Brown.
Oh, it was Hollywood Brown. I'm sorry.
14 catches.
14 catches. Yes, Greg Dortch was in the mix. It was Hollywood Brown. If you had to predict somebody for this weekend, DraftKings king of the game, who would you say?
It's got to be a Kyler game. We need a Kyler game. He just needs to take over 4 total tutties, maybe 5, and just show, Baker, hey.
Remember those games? They do exist.
Yeah.
We saw it in Tennessee last year.
Did you know that this Sunday is Kyler Murray's 50th career game?
I did not.
It's pretty wild.
Seems about right. It seems about right.
It's just,
it seems like he's a pup, but seems like he's been around for longer than you think.
Mm-hmm. It's time to stack up some wins and some trophies, some MVPs, some championships, maybe some Lombardis. But first, you have to find a way to beat slubby Matt Rule if you're Kliff Kingsbury. The Cardinals are attempting to go 1-2, get their first victory against the former Baylor, potentially soon to be fired Carolina Panther head coach. So my question is, I posed this on Twitter, I'm going to ask you guys, given the fact you got Philadelphia on the horizon, maybe one of the best teams in the NFC, is this game against Carolina a must-win for the Arizona Cardinals?
I'm going to go with no. All wins are important, but in terms of the forward outlook of this team and where you want this team to be, I don't think it really is going to – you want to get all wins matter, right? I mean, we need a shirt. All wins matter. But with that being said, I don't think this team becomes who they are until Hop gets back. Like, I really don't. And I think until then, you're going to see, one guy here making plays, one guy here making plays. Kliff Kingsbury, dialing up the right offense. I mean, a lot of unknowns and a lot of question marks, I believe, before Hop gets in there. But to answer your question, Johnny, due to Baker Mayfield's struggles, somebody on defense better step the hell up and make some plays this week. You just have to. Kyler, hopefully I'm with Bo. Offensively, Kyler. But
could it not be a must-win for the Cardinals, but it has to be a must-win for Kliff Kingsbury?
I think so, absolutely. That's how
I
exactly
still think
how
it's
I would
early,
phrase
guys.
it.
Well, no, from this part to where he can't fall to 0-3 against probably the guy. I know the betting odds are the Kliff is the favorite, but Matt Rule is probably the first guy out, right?
He was second right behind Kliff,
right.
Yeah.
You got to change those odds. If you're Kliff Kingsbury, you're like, let's make this right. Let me just beat his ass and then come home, and the Cardinals are 2-2. And Kliff said, like, if they can get to 2-2, like all this whole preseason, this training camp, all this crap and all this frustration, it tempers down a little bit. And they're 2-2, and they're in a good spot to potentially go 3-3 without DeAndre Hopkins. I think, look, Carolina sucks. They're not good at football. Yeah. They couldn't beat Cleveland. They couldn't beat the Giants, the biggest fraud at 2-0 going in, and they finally lost. And they beat New Orleans. New Orleans has a good defense. They're not great offensively.
Well, here's what I will say. A lot of people picked them trendy to win the South after how good Baker Mayfield looked in the preseason. I don't think it's
what are we talking about here?
That happened. I don't think it's a lack of talent for Carolina. I'm as guilty as anybody in the 2020 draft. 2020 draft. I did not want Derek Brown near this football team. I thought he was a limited defensive tackle. Cardinals ended up taking Isaiah Simmons because Derek Brown went one pick ahead. Derek Brown's been a good player for them. They've got nice corners. They've got situational linebackers. Brian Burns is better than any pass rusher the Cardinals have. I think it's going to be difficult for the Cardinals to score points this weekend. So then it flips to the defense, which is why I put so much pressure on them. You cannot get exposed by Baker Mayfield. If you allow Baker Mayfield to carve you apart, and Christian McCaffrey, who did not practice today, he's hobbled. For them, if they put up 24 points against Vance Joseph defense, it will be physically demoralizing, emotionally demoralizing. But again, Carolina, people don't want to hear me say this. Like, they have real players. DJ Moore has not been unleashed yet, right? I'm a fan of Robbie Anderson. Their offensive line's terrible. Baker can't move around. The benefit for the Cardinals is this is the first time you have not faced a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback to begin the year. And that Derek Carr is what he is, but I mean, he's very capable. He went to the playoffs last year, and then you got Stafford Mahomes. Like, you need to make Baker Mayfield look average like you did last year when you went to Cleveland. That's the key to this game.
Yes.
Because I expect the offense to struggle again.
I agree with you. I mean, I'm not scared, and I'm not buying into all the talent on this Carolina team because they've been bad for a while. I have questions about this coaching staff and how they develop guys. I think that the talent obviously was there. There were some big draft prospects, including Brown, who they're still waiting for consistent production from. You're encouraged.
He looked good last week.
You're encouraged by J.C. Horn, obviously, who got a red shirt, medical red shirt, basically because of an injury, and what he brings at the cornerback spot. But this is not an offense that should strike fear into you. And Baker Mayfield, when you look at the weather report and who's it going to impact the most, Baker Mayfield can be a turnover machine when the weather's perfect. And when the weather gets a little dicey too, the ball gets a little slick, it's not going to help him either. So the Arizona Cardinals, Matt Rule's teams are 1-25 when the opponent scores 17 points. That should be easy.
Is that a real stat?
That's a real stat.
Well, their defense is solid, though, Bo, and I just feel like going into this game, it's that Spider-Man meme where they're both pointing at each other, and I feel like that's similarly what this Arizona Cardinals football team going against the Carolina Panthers is. Like, a lot of question marks, meaning, right? There's some players at each position. But I think with that transition of Baker coming over late, not really knowing his – I mean, I'll be damned. The Cardinals' luck is when he comes out and has a career day. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what you don't want to happen. But what if you look back to last year? Obviously, different quarterback. Christian McCaffrey's out right now. However, you look what he was able to do, both run and pass. And who was he on? Isaiah Simmons. So who's going to cover Christian McCaffrey in that back out of the backfield and identifying those issues, Johnny?
Here somebody in the chat, PR Mac, I want to shout this out. Carolina is a measuring stick. If we lose, not good. I think that's perfectly encapsulated. This is a measuring stick game. You want to sell to your fans that you lost to Super Bowl champion, NFL champion, and caliber player.
Playoff team.
You have done that, right? You were not in the same stratosphere as Kansas City. You got schooled again by Sean McVay. If you're a playoff team in 2022 and you want it to be taken seriously, you cannot lose to this Panther team. I'm sorry. The Saints game last week, divisional game, wacky, right? That shit happens. Those teams play each other every year. You want to be taken seriously by this crew, by your fan base. If you're Kliff Kingsbury, you need to go into Charlotte and do whatever it takes. I don't care if they win by 20 or 3 points or whatever. You cannot lose to Matt Rule. Matt Rule, who is a sinking ship coach, a team right now, in my opinion, that has no direction, and they're just kind of flying all over the place with personnel moves left and right. You're preaching that. Wait a minute, guys. Take a deep breath. We found our footing. We were more competitive this week. Nobody's going to want to hear that if you're 1-3 and losing to Carolina. Like, you will go from being taken seriously by a large percentage of the fan base, because Pulse of the Fans on PHNX Cardinals, I was tweeting out, a lot of people are saying, I'm relaxed, they're going to write it, but if they lose to Carolina, I'm going to be upset. And I think that I can understand that.
Yeah, and I can understand Arizona Animal in the chat saying, man, that's a low measuring stick, beating Carolina.
Well, but if you lose, what does that say about you?
No, for sure.
I'm going to tell you right now, though, everybody, come hang out. Four Peaks. We've got more events at the Lola coming up. It's fantastic. We're enjoying all of our partners, all of our hangouts. But just a reminder, come and hang out with us. Be happy, healthy, safe. Get a COVID-19 vaccine. They're free for everybody 5 and older. Those 12 and older are also eligible for the booster shot. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for location near you. We're at Four Peaks, gentlemen, every last Wednesday of the month. Come hang out. We have watch parties. It's fantastic. We love our partners here at Four Peaks. Want to make sure you can come and hang out too, but be safe.
Yep, and as nice as Four Peaks is, I kind of miss our studios.
Yeah.
Just because how comfortable the new chairs are. They're beautiful. If you have seen our studios, you know what I'm talking about. If you want to kind of pimp out your living room, your dining room, your bedroom set, check out More Furniture's fall sale at morefurniture.com. That's More Furniture, M-O-R, furniture.com.
Check us out at gophnx.com. We mentioned Howard's work. Check out the PHNX merchandise locker, by the way. You can cop a free T-shirt now like this Hollywood Hills sign on Camelback if you sign up for your long membership. And why wouldn't you? Save some coin, just under $60. The Hollywood Hills sign on Camelback, the touchdown celebration sign. Find it all and more at gophnx.com, the PHNX merchandise locker. Gentlemen, we've had a blast here at Four Peaks today. Hopefully you've had a blast hanging out. Be sure to leave that like down below. Help share the YouTube algorithm. I don't know how all those fancy numbers work, nerd, but it helps us, right? I am a nerd. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review.
Bo, thank you so much for doing that. That just made my day.
All right, Emma, producer Emma, just trying to promote the show. Company.
You know what, Johnny? You said that everyone behind me was drinking out of juice boxes earlier in the show.
I said that, actually.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I'll lay off.
Emma, go ahead and mute yourself.
Emma wanted an Uncrustable. Emma wanted an Uncrustable.
She's one of my faves.
Maybe.
You guys, we've had a blast today here at Four Peaks. We can't wait to come back. We can't wait to talk to you guys later on as we continue our preview. Cards at Panthers. For DA Bo Brock, I'm Johnny Venerable from Four Peaks in downtown Tempe. Peace. See you.